3, 2, 1, go.
Alright, hello everyone.
Okay.
My name's
Alright. One more thing, I need to hear this real quick.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so some introductions. The runner here, 238. We got Phantom Matt, and then there's me. We're commentating. This is The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening for the Nintendo Switch, which was released on March 3rd, 2017, and the game being released on September 20th, 2019. Of course, I got the game on September 19th, 2019, because I bought the game from the Japanese eShop. This is a remake of the last Link's Awakening DX, except it's in 1080p glory. It's completely in 3D, and it's slower.
You know, I've had deja vu before, but I'm pretty sure that my hallucinations don't look this toy-like. They look more pixely.
Yeah.
So,
also another thing.
Earlier, what we did, so what I did that's set up is, by starting your game at a specific time, from the home menu, then you actually manipulate 2 major portions of RNG, which is in this game we're gonna have to solve the puzzle in Angler Tunnel, and then also we didn't explain this, but the egg puzzle is always the same in LADX, and they changed that in this game to where you actually have to read the book in order to solve the egg puzzle, but thanks to this manipulation, we know exactly what Dungeon 4 puzzle and egg pattern we're going to get.
Yeah, and then also, actually, one thing I want to mention here, we can hear your game from your mic, Mchan.
Yeah? Okay, I'll turn that down when I get the opportunity.
So yeah, another big difference. So there's a big difference between the original and this. Powder does not spawn in the shop immediately in this game. You actually have to turn in the mushroom to the witch to get powder, which is unfortunate.
And also, normally in LADX there's a trick where you can use a Maublin to boost you across the pit in order to skip all this stuff right here. But because that's been taken away as well, we have to go through this process. So a very common question is, what are the differences? And as you can see that everything looks different. This is on a Switch and not a Game Boy, and so the game runs on a much different engine.
Yeah.
All the tricks that you are familiar with watching LA and LADX speedruns do not work in this version at all. So the route is completely different, and it is nowhere near the same run as as LADX.
Actually, there is one big similarity, and that's a ghost skip. You can skip ever needing to get the ghost.
Yeah. The route's still different though. Yeah. So to talk about the category, I am running any percent.
This is glitchless.
Yeah. So
we
it
haven't
is
mentioned that this is
any
glitchless.
percent, but the regular 80% route uses things like frame perfect tricks, death abusing, and other crazy things, and this run's not going to be using any of them.
Yeah, any percent is complete bust. There are 3 major categories that people run. Any percent, and any percent glitchless. There's a trick in the game called where basically you can abuse that the 2 dungeons specifically without completing them. And what are some other ones? Oh yeah, like launching that speed up the game to the point with Genie skip as well, to the point where we can basically get the time below an hour and 10 minutes. But for Glitchless, we are just going to be doing pure execution, and the only real, I guess, big thing that we have in our arsenal that is allowed in Glitchless is a thing called skew. Skew, so normally the game only allows you to move in 8 directions and face in 8 directions, but if we take damage or jump while tapping a direction, we can skew Link's angle, and we can abuse that to do certain things.
Alright, so now we're going to go to the Trendy Game, and the Trendy Game is much different this time. And there's actual physics that involve in the Trendy Game, and we're hoping for a first try. This is actually harder than the original.
Oh, yeah, no question, because even if you landed on the same spot every time, sometimes the physics will be weird on the Yoshi doll. Oh yeah, we also have to do the trade sequence this time around, because with the... So in order to spawn Marin, we don't technically need these, but we still need to get at least up to the stick.
The banana. Or, yeah, the stick.
The stick, because we need the bananas to get to Candlelit Castle, and we can't just skip the villa. Or, well, Candlelit Castle. So,
as for text in this game, you can mash A and B like usual, but B mash through text faster, as all the text will appear instantaneously if you just mash B. So anytime there's text, I will be mashing B.
Yeah, and also another thing, speaking of mashing through text, the fastest language in this game is German, and the second fastest is French, and that is because there are less text boxes. And there's also another thing. It is faster because the text is left justified. That's what makes them able to actually fit more text into a text box. Japanese, Chinese, and Korean are actually the slowest because they are center justified and they have less characters in each text box. So if they were to follow the left justified rule and have a bunch of text, it would be way faster than German. But because it is not like that, they're actually the slowest languages.
Okay, so now we're going to approach Tail Cave. Tail Cave is still really easy. Nobody makes any mistakes in this dungeon.
It's actually harder. We're actually going to be doing a trick. Well, not a trick, but a small little time save, where we're actually not going to be getting the key to our left immediately, because the first time that you get a key, it will give you a text box telling you about the key. But if we get that text box through a chest, we don't have to get that through the following. Yeah. So it's a nice little time shaver.
So I have to go around this right here, and I kill this little guy right here because while I'm waiting for that spark, that little guy can latch onto me, and it's a sad day. They changed all the items, and they work similarly to as the original, but
they don't act same at all.
They nerfed them a lot.
Actually, I would say that they are indistinguishable from the original just because they are so nerfed in this game. Like, for instance, the feather it gives you no distance. It's actually slower for movement, and it stops.
Yeah, because anytime you jump, Link lands on his feet, which is very punishable.
Yeah, it's not the fact that he lands on his feet; it's that it literally kills all momentum, even during a. So you want to jump as little as possible. So we're going to be doing a lot of on-foot movement. So what?
So what I did there was I loaded an autosave file. So the game autosaves, and when the game autosaves, there is a separate save file that you can load the game from. And this is very useful in dungeons because it eliminates a ton of backtracking in all the dungeons. It's also useful in a few other overworld places too.
Yeah. So one big difference that you can see already is that this game's a lot more flashy with its animations, and so you will see a chest dropping down and then spawning, and then you hear the sound again. So small things that really add up to making this game slower than the original, at least compared to the no wrong or out of bounds categories of the original.
It's a really nice refresher from from like grinding LA and LADX runs. It's also a bit more slower paced, so it makes it kind of nice because LA and LADX are both like really fast paced. This is a bit more lax. When I got into this, I was already like semi burnt out of LADX for a little bit, and then
yeah, and another.
Also, they buffed up all the boss fights, so that one was a little bit harder. And all the boss fights have actual strategy in them this time.
Yeah.
I arguably wouldn't say that they buffed the boss fights.
Nerfed
sure
everything.
That they weren't OP.
Yeah.
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 I did 2 spin attacks here because it requires 4 hits to beat him again, but if you hit Moldorm a third, oh, that's not good. Okay, so this is what happens when you fall down. You'll get knocked down in here, and then now we gotta try to fight again. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, so as you can tell by the estimate, it's roughly around 2 hours. The run is definitely a lot longer because of all the flashy things, because to put that into perspective.
So he can do that sometimes, he jukes you, but there we go, we did it.
Glitchless LADX is around an hour and 17 minutes, or I guess around an hour 20, and Glitchless and this is about a half an hour compared to what would be considered a decent time in each one.
Aside from that Moldorm fall, the run's starting out pretty decent, so that's okay. We have plenty more run to go. Astronomist left a call. That's not good.
His internet went out. Currently, I'm having lots of noise. Mchan, good luck.
Oh no. Okay, so we just beat. So now we beat Tail Cave, and now we're gonna head our way to the next dungeon, Bottle Grotto. Before that, we're going to the ribbon that we just got from the little chomplet. We're going to now deliver to the crocodile for bananas. Because well, actually no, it's not a ribbon. We got dog food, and we're gonna deliver dog food to the crocodile for bananas. A little bit more steps. You could do this before the dungeon, but it is quicker to do it after. So as for so like the controller inputs are kind of loud, and that's because I'm actually using a GameCube controller. There's a couple ways you can play this game. Of course, you use Joy-Cons, which hardly anybody really uses. There's the Pro Controller, which is what most people use, and I'm using a GameCube controller because one of the flaws that this game has is that you only move in 8 directions, despite that both the Joy-Cons and Pro Controller have no notches for full 360 movement, but there is no full 360 movement at all. And instead you only move in 8 directions. And with the GameCube controller, it makes that fact a little easier to deal with. It does make some setups a little bit more awkward for me, but we can make do. Now we're just gonna make our way through the forest again. Also, enemies behave differently this time. They're more aggressive, so they're harder to deal with. So whenever like those moblins, they see me, they charge at me and they throw their spears, and it's not fun. Okay, so now we're in the Maublin Cave, and powder's the only item that they made better is powder. Powder does quite a lot of damage, so as you saw right there, I'm able to use powder on those guys and defeat them all in one hit. So now the Maublin King is a little bit different. Oh, so close. Okay, so if you time your rhythm correctly, you can actually get a 1 cycle in this fight. It's a little bit hard. If your rhythm's slightly off, then you won't get the 1 cycle, but 2 cycles is fine. Okay, so now we got Bow Wow. And we're gonna auto-load. Auto-loading right there is much faster than walking all the way back. So, Matt, how was that?
I mean, you didn't get the 1 cycle, but overall, it's looking pretty good.
Okay, that's good. Alright, so we got the heart piece earlier. We're gonna avoid it this time in this run because it's 80%, and we don't need the heart piece. Also, in dungeons, another change that this game adds in dungeons is you can skip heart containers if you'd like. In the originals, you have to get the heart containers in order for the last room to open. But you can skip the heart containers this time, which does save time, but it's not really recommended. I believe the world record gets like 2 heart containers, a total of 2 heart containers throughout the run. For this run, I've recently started practicing skipping a few heart containers here and there in order to save time. But for this run, I'm going to get all of them. They only take a few seconds to get, so it's really not that bad to pick them up. Okay, so this is Bottle Grotto, and just like LADX, it's not really a lot to talk about here. There's a slightly different route that we're going to be taking here in this time. And that is that this next upcoming key, I'm actually going to be skipping it in replace of a different key that we're going to get later on. And that's because this game adds these animations where keys and chests appear. It is faster to get a different key in this version. Okay, so the amount of damage I'm taking right now doesn't matter because there's a heart refill I'm going to be getting later on. Okay. So now up is Hinox again. And Hinoxes are very special in this game. Okay, there we go. That was a pretty fast fight. So, what makes Hinoxes really special in this game is that there is a frame-perfect trick that you can do with all Hinoxes, and that is that if you take damage on the same frame that Hinox grabs you, then the Hinox can throw you into somewhere special in the dungeon, which saves quite a lot of time in the regular 80% run, but it's also really difficult. And obviously you're not going to be seeing that in this run because that is a glitch, and this is glitchless. so we're gonna get this key instead of the one near the beginning, because again, this key is faster to get in this version than the other key that we got back in LADX. Jump over this pit right here, and then coming up is again one of the worst rooms in a dungeon. You have to defeat these enemies in the same order as in the original. There we go. Not so good RNG, but you can work with this. Okay, so now you get to see how the normal way works. So last time we used bombs in order to lift this platform down. This time we're going to use a pot because I have bombs. In fact, the reason we did not actually... You may notice that we didn't actually go shopping yet. And the reason is because bombs don't appear until after we beat this dungeon. So they changed that this time. Alright. So we now have the Genie Fight. And this time, the Genie is pretty fun. So now's a pretty good time to kind of... Matt, how are you doing? How are you liking the run so far?
I like the run. I wish I could commentate more, but there are people stepping above my roof.
Oh, well, I don't hear anything on your end, so...
That's because I'm muted.
I think... Well, even right now as you're talking, I don't hear anything.
That's because I've given them very choice words to allow me to talk.
Okay. Okay, so... we used to be able to break the pot in one hit. They changed that, obviously. So, we have to suffer through the normal way. Look at how skillfully I dodge all these fireballs. This is so difficult. My heart is pounding right now.
How simply.
Okay, so now we're off to the second phase. Now he's going to clone himself into 2 different clones, and we have to guess which one's the right one. The correct one is the one that is furthest away from the middle. And then if I do this right, then I can do this in 2 phases, in 2 cycles. Okay, a little bit slow, but we still got the 2 cycle fight, which is still faster than any more cycles that I could have gotten. So there we go. Alright, so we're gonna, again, get this heart container. We're gonna get, like I said, we're gonna get every heart container. They take only a few seconds to get. And it's just to make sure that we keep the run alive. And that is the second dungeon. Okay, so there's a few things that we're going to do in between getting the next dungeon. So I throw that rock on that enemy. That way he doesn't hit me. Well, actually, the amount of damage that you take actually doesn't matter because you get a refill anyway. So we're gonna activate that warp point. They added a lot more warp points in this version, so it makes transportation really nice in this game. So they added a lot of quality of life into this version when they remade it. That's what makes this version spectacular. Okay, so unfortunately, we're gonna have to send Bow Wow back home as much as we would like to keep him throughout the rest of the game. If you do keep Bow Wow, then we cannot do the next side quest that we have to do. Okay, so now we're gonna go shopping. We're gonna buy some bombs, because we need them in order to complete the next dungeon. We're gonna get this shovel. I'm gonna do this real quick. It's 200 rupees. We don't have 200 rupees, but yeah, I'm gonna walk away with it.
He's a thief. Everyone shame this man.
Oh no, the shopkeeper's not happy. Oh no, he killed me. Wow. Well, this run's dead.
No,
I just lost like.
I'm still alive. You're.
Alright, so now we got the bow. It is 980 rupees. Again, don't have that, but I'm just gonna walk away with it. No big deal. So, stealing's really fast in this game. And it feels harder, at least to me. Some people make it look really easy. But, I don't know. Maybe I'm bad. So... bomb arrows are back, and bomb arrows are not a glitch, as some may argue. The box cover on, well, the back of the box cover of the game teaches you how to use bomb arrows, which means they intended you to use bomb arrows in the game. Okay, so we're going to deliver the banana to, the bananas to this monkey right here, and the monkeys are going to give us a path to Candle Castle. So shoutouts to Alpha 5. He really likes this place. Do you like Candle Castle, Matt?
Nope, waste of time.
Waste of time? Oh, dang. But there is a way to do Veil Skip in this version. It's a little bit different. It involves a death abuse, but that's not fun. So we're going to do it this way instead. Okay. Go ahead and do this. Hopefully the leaf does not go out of bounds. Okay, the leaf did not go out of bounds. That's good. Sometimes it can do that, and then you gotta reset the screen, which would be a very miserable day. Okay, so this is what Candle Castle looks like.
It's very castle-y.
Yes. Oops. Okay, wasted an arrow, so I'm gonna have to defeat all these guys like this. Okay, having Piece of Power right there is really good because it makes the last room of this place a lot easier and much faster. So, Piece of Power is the same. They brought back Piece of Power and Guardian Acorn back. We didn't explain Guardian Acorn because we didn't really need to. The way Piece of Power works in this game is you need to kill 30 enemies plus how many heart containers you have, which in this case, since I have 5 heart containers, I need to kill 35 enemies for a Piece of Power drop. In the original, it was just 30 kills plus a certain number of hearts as you progress through the game. I believe that's how it worked in the original. But now it's 30 plus how many hearts. And then Guardian Acorn, on the other hand, you have to kill some amount of enemies. In this game, I don't know the number, but it's some number of enemies without getting hit. So if you're not getting hit, and you're killing enemies, and you're not paying attention to your kill count, then you could get a Guardian Acorn spawn at a very inconvenient place, where it's kind of hard to avoid it, and it would not be very fun. It is just a time loss. Guardian Acorn only increases your defense, which means we don't need Guardian Acorn at any point in the run, other than playing safety.
So, you mean to tell me that safety isn't worth it?
No, not if you're trying to go fast.
So, some would argue then that Blue Tunic is also not worth it. It's not safety, right?
Well,
Hey, it's by your own admission.
but But you see, I lost time in the on the Armos Knight fight in my last run.
That's because you didn't do bootstraps fight.
Okay. Okay, so now we got all 5 golden leaves. And with all 5 golden leaves, we're now going to... You're wondering, well, what did I get those 5 golden leaves for? Well, you're about to see. But that was the whole purpose of Candlelit Castle. And so this is a pretty long, not super exciting side quest, unless you're Alpha, then he makes it really exciting.
That's because Alpha's a hype man.
Yeah. But this is Richard. So I talked to him once there to say yes to his quest, and then I say yes again to tell him, like, hey, I just got those 5 leaves that you told me to get, like, 1 second ago. And then now he lets us through his garden. So they actually have a name for this now. It's called Pothole Maze. Because there's a lot of potholes. And it's a maze in order to get through this place. There we go, got through it. And then now we get the key of Dungeon 3. It actually looks like a key this time, unlike an LADX. So, because wall clipping doesn't work, we actually have to open up the dungeon like this, and then go all the way around. And it's kind of miserable, but it's just something that we have to deal with. Also, you walk really slow when you're going through grass or water, so all those jumps that you saw me doing, they did look unnecessary because, like we said earlier, like Link stops on his feet whenever he jumps, so it makes jumping slower. But doing all those jumps over all those patches of grass that I walked over is still faster than just walking through the grass. Okay, so now we are in Key Cavern. So Key Cavern this time is kind of long. Okay, that was a little bit unfortunate, but that's okay. Because none of the tricks that we did during the LADX run work, so we have to do things the long way. That chest right there is it contains some beautiful stuff. If you're playing this game casually, you should definitely open up that chest. But I don't need whatever's in that chest, so I'm not going to pick it up. Jumping over the treadmills is pushing against us. You just jump in order to conserve our momentum. Okay, so I'm going to throw this bomb at this wall. And this seems like a waste of time, but I gotta wait for that bomb to blow up anyway. So we do that while we do this. Also, shout out to the acorn. So that's the acorn right there. Normally I would get hit in the other room. So I wasn't, and because I didn't, I had to suffer through that, and the acorn dropped. So this is the Dongle Snakes. We didn't fight them in LADX, but this time we actually have to fight them. Now, in LADX, there is a glitch where if you defeat one of the Dongle Snakes and then leave, then the game counts as both of them dead. However, they changed that so that you actually have to fight both of them. If you leave when one of them is dead, then both of them respawn, and then you just gotta redo the entire fight all over again. Which is pretty fun. Oops, I keep jumping too early. Okay, there we go. So our word for fighting those Dongle Snakes is the Pegasus Boots. Which, you know, just like LADX, you can go fast with them. The dash mechanics work differently this time. I like to say they work very similar to the dash mechanics in Minish Cap, where you can actually... hold on. Okay, I missed. Okay, there we go. You can actually change your angle of your dash while you're dashing, and you can dash for a pretty long period of time, unlike, as opposed to dashing for one screen, like in LADX. So there's a lot of interesting ways in this version where you can optimize your dash. Okay, so now I'm gonna go a little bit out of my way. Oops. Okay, so if that guy is about to shake, that means he's going to charge at me. And when he's about to charge at me, he's gonna latch at me. So I had to delay my dash there in order so that he doesn't get me. Okay. Okay, there we go. I had to kill that little guy as well as these two Stalfos in order to spawn this chest right here, which will contain 300 rupees. So now we are done. We are set for rupees for the rest of the run. Okay. So once again, auto load. Then we're gonna go to this side right here in order to get this key. And then now we need one more key. Hence the word Key Cavern. Although some people can argue that this dungeon can also be called Slime Cavern because of the slime key that we need to in order to open up the dungeon. Oops. Okay, that's bad. Now, you can do this and go through this room before fighting the Dongle Snakes and before getting the Pegasus Boots, but this room's a pain in the butt without the Pegasus Boots. So, we just do it now. And then now all those keys that we acquired, we're going to use them all on this inner part. So that precise dash jump that I did during LADX, where you go underneath the thwomp, does not work in this version. Oh, that's not good. Okay, come on. Okay, there we go. Okay. Now it is time to fight Slime Eye, or in German, it's called Gigazol. Which sounds cooler, in my opinion. So the strategy is similar. Slash him 4 times, and then dash to the middle in order to split them into 2. And now this time... this time the hitbox is different for the fight, because you actually have to hit the eyeball. And so, you have to hit the eyeball like 5 times, but dashing does more damage than the sword slashes. So, as you saw right there, I did a slash and 2 dashes in order to defeat both of them. And that's the fight. That's Key Cavern. How was that, Matt?
It's going pretty good.
I'm glad to hear that. It's also worth noting that because I'm playing in German, these white text boxes that you see at the end of every dungeon, there's only one set of text, as opposed to if you're playing this on English, where there's only 2 sets of text. So you just save like probably like 5 or 6 seconds or something like that. It's a pretty crazy time save. German's pretty powerful in this game. Okay, so now I'm going to go over here to the Seashell Mansion, not because we have 5 seashells, in fact we don't have any seashells. There's a warping point right there, which we are going to use later. So we just activate it now. And now we're going to head over to the Animal Village. So, we got the stick from the monkey, and we're supposed to use that to deliver Terran we're supposed to give it to Terran for for the honey in exchange for the honeycomb. But we don't need that this time, because one thing that they change, another quality of life change in this version, is that we're gonna talk to this walrus, and that will actually trigger Mchan to spawn at the beach. In the original, it was only getting the pineapple. So by skipping those steps of the trading quest, we don't need to get the honeycomb or the pineapple. So with that, we are done with the training sequence. So now we're gonna go to the Dream Shrine, and in the 80% run of the original, you can skip getting the Ocarina because bomb triggers are really nice. But this time we actually have to get the Ocarina, and we have to get all 3 songs, because we need all 3 songs in order to beat the game. Even if there was a way to skip one of the songs, or at least all the songs in this case, it still wouldn't be worth it, because warping is very good in this game, and you'll see why. We got the Ocarina, and then now we're done. Also, one of the things you're seeing me do every time I dash, whenever you cancel your dash, there's a very long period where Link decelerates, and so by either jumping or slashing, I decelerate. Well, I just stop instantaneously. So that's a little bit faster than just manually canceling my dash. Okay. So now we're about to go on a date again with Mchan, and this scene looks very spectacular in this version. What can you say about this date scene, Matt? Is Matt there?
Right. These seagulls looks to be RNG. I'm saying you're getting some pretty poor RNG, pal. Sorry.
Okay. So, Mchan talks about her dreaming to be a seagull. That's her wish. And she wants to fly as far away as she can. But because I died in the run, we won't unfortunately see that.
I also gotta say, you're a poor date, man. You don't even get her any dinner, you don't get her anything to drink, you get nothing. All you do is just walk around with her. God.
I'm sorry.
Treat a girl to a good time. At least make her some pierogi or something.
Okay, so there is a warping point right here in Martha's Bay, and we're going to use that to go to Animal Village. And that warping point at Martha's Bay is very convenient, actually. And you'll see why in a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to use Mchan to wake the walrus. We're not doing walrus skip this time, as that obviously doesn't work. Now, it is also worth noting that in the regular 80% run, you can actually skip all of this entire part and go straight to Dungeon 4 using yet another death abuse. But that's a glitch, and we don't do that. Okay, so remember back in LADX when I said I don't know what was in this room? Well, we're about to see what's in this room. So this is the Landmolus fight. Oops. Oh no, that's bad. Okay, so I just got knocked out of the I just got knocked out of the fight, so now he regained all his health, so now I gotta actually fight. Well, I gotta redo the fight. That's not good. And because I had already wasted my bombs and arrows on this guy, I'm actually going to conserve my bombs and arrows this time. I gotta fight him a little bit slower. And that's not good. This fight's pretty hard.
Out of curiosity, did you ever notice that he has a propeller tail?
Yeah, I can see that. What's that about?
I mean, how do you think he gets through the sand?
But he's a worm. Worms can go through sands just fine. Did I? Okay, good. Alright, you can fall down there if you're positioned incorrectly, but we didn't fall down there. And that's a good thing. Because unlike in LADX 100%, where there's a heart piece in there, we have no need to go in there, because we're not picking up any of the heart pieces. Oh. Okay. Okay, so now we're about to get the first song, and this time we're gonna take a little listen here. This is pretty sounding. Alright, so that was the Battle of the Windfish. So that's the most important song. And now we are going to head over to Dungeon 4. I guess on the way to Dungeon 4, since there's not really much to talk about on the way to Dungeon 4, menuing. So in LADX, of course, you only have 2 buttons to work with, and all the items are like scattered all over the place. So like everybody develops a different menu routes. In this version, menuing is a lot different, as you can see. All the items are at a set position on the menu, so it's a lot easier to know where your items are. And also, some items are always permanently equipped. So as you see right now, the shield's always equipped, the sword's always equipped, the bracelet's always equipped, and so is the Pegasus boots. So it leads to a lot of interesting strategies that this game has that the original version doesn't have. Another really big quality of life change that they improved on. Okay, so this cave, so obstacle skip does not work this time. That's a good thing, because obstacle skip is a bad trick. Sorry, Matt.
You disappoint me more every single day.
Okay, so now we are in Angler Tunnel. Or it is called, wait for it in German, it's called Wonder Tunnel. Wait, actually, I don't do that yet. Okay, my routes mixed up there. Okay.
The German name for this is Wundertunnel.
Wunder Tunnel. Okay. I'm gonna get that guy out of the way. Go. So we're gonna get these first 2 keys here. So this dungeon's this time is really long. Because none of the things that we used to do in LADX don't work. So we're gonna get these first 2 keys right here. By the way, fun fact, that second key is, well, they got pretty smart with that second key in this version, because back in LA and LADX, when that key used to be obtained in the route, there is a precise trick where, well, it's not really a trick, it's just a precise jump that allows you to jump around those bomb rocks, so that way you don't need to use a bomb arrow. But they got pretty smart with that this time, so that you actually have to, well, they added those 3 bomb rocks so that you cannot jump around them this time.
It shall be known that that trick was known as Dumb Jump.
Yeah, that was Dumb Jump number 1.
Also, it's worth noting that we have recently found a way to use a recoil from a bomb going off in order to make this jump and skip a few keys.
Yeah, but because that was only found very recently, I didn't have time to kind of prepare for that trick, so I'm not going to be doing it at all. And that does skip, like, quite a big portion of the beginning part. Alright, let me, okay. So, I am confirmed that I am on the correct sea. Which means I don't have to go through some pretty wacky stuff in order to figure out what seat I'm on. Okay, so now we're going to fight the mini-boss of this dungeon, which is Cue Ball. Now, of all the bosses that they made worse, this boss is probably one of the worst bosses in this game.
Why? Because he doesn't let you just sit in the corner and kill him? Ah, man, they made him have a fighting chance.
So you can only attack him from the back, but his weak spot is also, like, really weird sometimes. Because sometimes, like, you just won't hit him at all. His hitbox is kind of terrible. But, there we go. That fight didn't go too bad. Alright, so, this is gonna seem a little weird, but I'm going to grab these flippers, and then I'm going to leave the dungeon. So, the reason I do that is because when you complete Dungeon 4, the ghost appears, and when the ghost appears and is following you, you cannot enter any dungeons while the ghost is with you. And so you have to do this whole ghost quest. It's like 3 minutes long. It's not fun. I'm gonna talk about it after this song first. Okay, so that was Mambo's Mambo. So going back to what I was talking about earlier, you cannot enter any dungeons while the ghost is following you. So, like, you gotta do this entire ghost sequence. You gotta deliver him to his house, and then you gotta take him to his grave, and then you get a bottle. So that's a requirement in 100% in this game. So they added bottles this time, which is why there's 12 slots in the item menu, despite some items being permanently equipped in your equipment. So they added bottles. There's 4 bottles in this game, and so by saving Dungeon 4 for later, we can avoid having to do the ghost quest at all. Now, the ghost activates when you're, like, at the lower half of the map, just like in LADX. In LADX, there's, like, 2 requirements that the game checks for the ghost to not spawn, and this time, they changed it so that there's only 1 check. as they kind of fix it. They try to actually make you do the ghost quests in this game, but we still have ways around it.
Devs want us to play the game the intended way.
Yeah. Alright, so that was Armos Maze. Easier to go through in this version. The Armos statues still hurt. They do 2 hearts of damage. I got hit by one of them earlier. That's sad, but now we have the Armos Maze fight. It's a lot different in this version. Oh, uh-oh. Uh-oh, come on. Okay. Oh! Okay, I'm gonna wait for you to jump one more time. Okay, there we go. His iframes are really weird. And also, hitting him is kind of weird too. So that fight could have gotten a lot worse, but we didn't die. Okay, so this warp portal by Martha's Bay is very helpful because now we're about to head over to Dungeon 5. So because of how warping works in this game, it is better to get the face key and then go to Dungeon 5. So Mambo's Mambo in this game is a very big quality of life change because it used to be that you can only warp to Mambo's Pawn by Crazy Tracy's Hut, and it's still there in this version, but you can warp to any warping point that you see, which is very helpful. Makes transportation a lot easier. Also, this room kind of sucks. Okay, there we go. So, if there was a way to skip getting the Ocarina at all, it probably won't be worth it. Because of that reason alone. Okay, so this is Dungeon 5, Catfish's Maw. And unfortunately, there is no early hookshot. So you're gonna have to see the whole dungeon this time around. And that's not fun. So Dungeon 5 is, to a lot of runners, like a lot of people's least favorite dungeon. There's a lot of walking around. It's very long, and most of the enemies are like, they have random movements to where you could lose little bits of time, and they add up to being like a bunch of seconds. So it's a very painful dungeon to do in runs. Like, it's very easy to like go from being PV pace to being like plus 20, just because of the RNG alone in this dungeon. And that applies to all versions of LA. So this is Master Stalfos, and we fought him once in LADX. This time we have to fight him all 4 times. And the fight this time is pretty exciting. You all 4 times that you fight him are all exactly the same every time. In the original, it was that the first... Oh, come on. Okay. It used to be that the first and 4th time that you fight him, you have to bomb him 3 times, and then the 2nd and 3rd, you have to bomb him twice. This time, all 4 times you have to hit him 3 times. And they're all exactly the same fight. It's pretty exciting. Wouldn't you agree, Matt? Okay, Matt has no response, so I'll just assume he's gonna say yes. Okay, so now we're gonna go back to the one room that we got the first key in. And the reason I didn't go to that room in the first place is because Master Stalfos spawns in order. So this is the fourth room right here. And there's no way, as far as we know, there's no way to change the order of when Master Stalfos appears. It'd be quite a groundbreaking trick if we were able to find that. Now we got the hook shot, finally. Once again, auto load. So there's one thing. Well, so now we can technically beat the dungeon, but there's one thing that we still need to get, and then we can beat the dungeon. So we have to go a little bit out of our ways. Come on. Alright. Just take a little dive here. Okay, hook shot onto his chest. Then we get the boss key. So in the original version, there was a trick where you can do a very difficult dash jump over in order to get the boss key early before getting the hook shot. But the gap is larger in this version to where that trick does not work. We're almost at the end here. Okay. Woo! Okay. Alright, so, I would have liked to have Piece of Power there, but, okay, nice. First try. So, that didn't look like anything. But what I did was, as I was jumping, I like slightly tilted my control stick, my control stick, to a angle that is not within the 8 directions, so that I could hook shot onto that pop block there, and that is what Astro said earlier in the run called skewing. And that skips having to get another key and then possibly make this dungeon any longer, because I don't like this dungeon. So this is Wall Snake, and it requires more hits to beat Wall Snake this time. And there we go. So you can actually, Piece of Power, having Piece of Power for this fight in the original is bad, because you cannot, it makes the fight harder, but Piece of Power in this version of the game makes Wall Snake easier. So you can actually get a really easy one cycle on Wall Snake if you have Piece of Power. But I didn't have Piece of Power, so we had to settle in for a 2 cycle there. How was that, Matt? Okay, he's still not here. That's okay. Okay, so the warp portal, or when we activated the Seashell Mansion warp earlier, this is what we need it for now. So now we're closer to the next dungeon, Face Shrine. Gonna take a little swim here. We don't have to go through the rocky maze. Oh, that was bad luck right there. That bomb fairy can drop a bomb sometimes. And but that's okay. There's plenty of refills in the dungeon itself. Place the key inside, and then the dungeon's gonna open up. Okay, this is Base Shrine. So the Face Shrine, without all those tricks that you saw back in the LADX run, it's one of the longer dungeons, unfortunately. Also, I have no arrows, so that means I have to settle in for a bit of a slower strat in the upcoming room.
Did I miss anything burning?
Anything burning?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Did anything catch on?
Oh.
Has everything gone wrong?
Oh. Not exactly. Did I get that? No, I didn't. Okay, that's fine. Let's do this then. So, it's unfortunate that I ran out of arrows earlier than I expected. That's fine. Arrow management in this run, at least up until this point, it's very precise. Bomb management, not so much, because this dungeon has a lot of bomb refills, so you could... I mean, it's still important that you conserve your bombs as much as possible, but it's not as tight as with arrows. Okay, so now we're gonna get this key right here, and then we're going to warp out of here. Well, not warp out of here, we're gonna auto-load out of here. Also, Mambo's Mambo can warp you to the beginning of the dungeon if you're in a dungeon. But that is slower than if we were to auto-load. So we're gonna auto-load instead. Alright, so coming up as a tile room, it's the same exact tile room than in LADX. Also, I like the music. I like the remake of the music that they did for this dungeon. I was supposed to dash there, but that's okay. Alright, so this is a boss that you didn't see in LADX. This is Smasher. What can you say about Smasher, Matt?
He doesn't exist for me.
No, he doesn't exist? Well, you're looking at him right now. Whew, okay.
It's a weird stingray thing with a giant steel ball. That's all I can say.
So, you can get that ball before he grabs it right at the start of the fight, but it's very precise to do. Okay, good. Getting those two bomb arrows in is a little bit difficult, but we got it. We're gonna grab this key. Then we're going to now head on to the next part of the dungeon. That chest right there in that room contains secret medicine if you're ever in need of a safety measure, but hopefully I don't need it. Alright, so, after a couple boring rooms, we're about to approach everyone's favorite, horse heads. How many tries do you predict this time, Matt? Because we got it second try during LADX. Matt?
What are we talking about? Hey, what?
How many tries do you predict I'm gonna get horse heads? Because we got a second try in LADX.
2012.
How many tries do you think we're gonna get this time? Huh?
2012.
2012 tries. That's a lot of tries. Alright, we're about to approach it right now, so here we go. Let's see how it goes. First, I'm going to move these pots out of the way. Oh, baby, first try. Let's go. Okay, so the reality of that is there is actual strategy to horse heads this time. So it's always 100% as long as you throw the horse heads while they're standing up at specific spots. So this dungeon's no longer like complete luck fest as it used to be.
It wasn't even a luck fest back then, they took the fun out of it.
So the strategy is that you gotta consider it as like chess. I don't like chess, by the way. Where it's like some amount of space is forward, and then some amount of space, and then like one space to the side. Also, I'm messing this fight up pretty hard because I'm not paying attention to how many times that they have moved. Okay, there we go. That's one down. Take care of this other guy. Oh my gosh. Please, oh my god.
Hold up, I need to confirm something. Did you say you don't like chess?
I don't like chess.
You okay?
Yes, I am a checkers player.
But checkers has very little strategy compared to chess.
There's some strategy in checkers. Okay, so that piece of power right there is a time loss because I'm about to auto-load, which means I lose piece of power right away. So now we're about to use that warp that we got from that we activated from fighting Smasher. Then we are going to head to the end. Oh. That's not good. Okay, there we go. He was supposed to fall down there, but he didn't want to fall, even though he was frozen. Okay. So this is Facade. And unlike an LADX, this fight is really difficult. And then the strat that I'm gonna go for makes it pretty easy for you to die here. So hopefully I don't die. I don't know how to pronounce that name. It's very long for what his name is in German. Okay, so the tiles can actually knock the bomb over. So that sucks. So now that just messed up, okay. Oh my gosh. Alright, there's a bomb there. Okay, so now instead of bomb arrows, I'm gonna have to resort to using bombs this time. So the actual face of Facade can actually hurt you this time for a quarter heart of damage. And they made it so that you can't just like place bombs like anywhere in the room. You have to be careful about it this time.
I know I'm gonna butcher this, but I believe it's called Damonenplatz.
Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, there we go.
Ironically, Facade was also known as Face Mat.
Face what?
Face Mat.
Face mat. Oh, okay. now we got the Coral Triangle. And that is 5 out of 8 dungeons done. So, if you are very classic with playing games in order, if you can call it that, then the dungeon routing in this game goes through all the dungeons in almost exactly the same order. With the exception of completing Dungeon 4 at a later point, obviously, but we are entering the dungeons in order. What the heck? Okay, there we go.
On my screen, it looked like you were saying, what the heck, as the owl flew away, and I was about to say, that's intentional.
Ooh, okay. So earlier, so when you're choosing warping points on that menu, you can use the D-pad. If you're using the control stick, then the cursor just like moves very slowly. Whereas if you use the D-pad, you can select the warp points without having to aim at the specific spot that you want to warp to. So it's faster to use the D-pad. But since I'm using a GameCube controller, I have to suffer with a GameCube D-pad, and it's really small, so it's really easy to make mistakes on that menu. Also, this is the Signpost Maze. So what you just saw, from the way I entered the Signpost Maze, they change the way that you enter it so that you cannot enter it very early. I guess they knew that people found a way to do the Signpost Maze without the hookshot, and so they changed it. That's not fun. Alright, so I really like this song back in LADX, and they made this song so much better. I'm really excited to hear this.
It's only good because of Splatoon influences.
Alright, so that was the Frog Song of Soul, and we will be using it a total of 2 times in the run. It's very beautiful. I'm glad we paid 300 rupees to see that. Okay, so with the Frog Song of Soul, we're going to go ahead and use it over here. So now that we got the level 2 bracelet, we can push this rooster statue, go below this. This is like the grave, I guess, because we can see this one skull right here. And the Frog Song of Soul, with the name Soul, it has to do something with a soul. And so you revive dead things. And so now we just brought a rooster back to life. It's a zombie. The zombie apocalypse is now is happening. But we're gonna do some things with the rooster. So in the regular any % run, the rooster is very broken. You can do some pretty crazy glitches with the rooster. But those are glitches, which means those are not allowed in the run. In this run in particular. Okay. Now, I could actually go back to D4. If this was LADX, I could go back to D4 right now. To complete D4. But they fixed the level 2 bracelet check so that even if you have the level 2 bracelet, the ghost will still appear. So the ghost is going to appear no matter what you do. so we are going to be doing that last. So it's kind of a throwback to the very, very, very old any percent route in LED. And I guess the reason they fixed that was because they don't want you. I guess they just don't want you to missing out on any of the items in the game if you're going to 100% the game.
You need that.
So I think it makes sense.
Ghost lore is what you need.
Yeah, well, you get the bottle, and if you find a way to skip it completely, you can't get the bottle anymore. Whew, okay, there we go. So, we did Rooster Skip. This time, unfortunately, we have to use the Rooster. So, that was Rooster Skip, 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 not skip.
No. It's Rooster Skip, skip, skip.
Okay.
3 skips. That's it.
Okay. So we skip having to do Rooster Skip, and then we skip having to do the other Rooster Skip that's LA exclusive, and I don't know. There's a lot of skips in that word.
It's not LA exclusive. It's exclusive to routes that aren't restricted by out of bounds. So you're no stew, you're warpless, you're 100% no restrictions probably if you need to go in that cave.
Yeah. So, the very first glitch that was found near the time that this game came out, there was a little bomb clip that you could do right there on that ladder that I just climbed up in order to enter this cave. And that skips having to do this whole trip up to Eagle Tower. But we're going to climb... We're just going to have to do this climb. Also on the way, there is a warping point right here. I'm going to activate it because we will need to go here later. It may seem pointless because you may think, what do we need to go back here for anyway? Well, I'm trying to avoid spoilers.
You can't avoid spoilers. We have already done this. We did this like an hour and 30 minutes ago.
Hey man, what if they're seeing this for the first time? What if people didn't catch that run?
And I highly suggest you go back and you watch the Link's Awakening DX 100%
Alright, so unfortunately for us, all the tricks that we did during LADX all don't work here. However, this dungeon's still pretty broken. So we still have ways to kind of skip major parts of the dungeon. This dungeon's like super long, complicated. There's a lot of optional rooms. There's a lot more optional rooms than there are required rooms in this dungeon if you're going through it normally. Obviously, we're not going to be going into any of them. So this ball right here, I'm going to go ahead and reset the room. That way I don't have to use that lever. And if I get here with good enough movement, which I did, then I can beat that pushable block, or those blocks, and not having to use the lever at all. That also works in LADX if you're going to use the ball in LADX. It's a lot easier than using the lever. There's also another way to go through that room, and that is what is called ball jump. However, we have some like out of bounds rule sets in Glitchless to where standing on objects that you're not really supposed to stand on through normal circumstances are not allowed. Even though the game does not, like, you can still move normally and the game does not act weird or anything like that, but we still agreed that any of that stuff, but like standing on any of those objects would not be allowed. And so, therefore, ball jump, we don't do ball jump in this run. It looks cool though. You don't see it. So I just broke those pillars. So I went out of order of breaking those pillars. I just broke the first pillar, and then I broke the third pillar, and now I broke the second pillar, and then the fourth, and then I'm gonna break the fourth pillar soon. First, I'm gonna throw this ball across right there. I'm gonna leave that switch the way it is, so that way I can get to the next part of the dungeon. Oops. Now we're gonna get the level 2 shield, or it's called the mirror shield. They actually have names for the level items this time. So like the level 2 bracelet's called the more powerful bracelet in this game, and then in this game they called the level 2 shield the mirror shield. Which by logic, calling it those names actually makes sense. Alright, so this is the mini-boss here. You kind of saw this guy during LADX. Hold on. Okay, there we go. So you just stand there, and then mash your sword, and then you'll hit all of those flies. If you leave at least one fly alive, then you gotta like reset the whole process of defeating all 6 of them, and it's quite a nightmare if you let that fight go on for too long. Oh my god. But that gives us a warping point so that we can use it for later. I'm gonna pick up this heart just to be a little bit safe. I know the marathon is called Rolling Deep, but that is not Rolling Deep right there. Okay, there we go. So you need to match those guys in order to spawn that chest, and the reason we need to spawn that chest is so we can use it to hookshot across that giant pit. And that's how we're going to get to that 4th pillar. So there was a Hinox there where we're gonna skip having to fight him. We don't need to fight him for any reason whatsoever. He does spawn a chest if you do beat him. I believe it's a map or compass, something we don't need. So fighting him is completely useless. All right, so that's all 4 pillars broken down. It took us a lot longer than how long it took us in LADX, but we did it. Hopefully, any of you casual players that are following along with this will now suffer less in getting lost a bunch of times in this dungeon. Alright, so we're going to leave the dungeon now, because if you beating this dungeon activates a 50-second long cutscene, and so by going to this now, by going straight to Dungeon 8 right now, and then going back to Eagle Tower later, it saves time. It saves more time than the 50-second cutscene. It might be longer just because. What?
Should also point out that we just did a big skip.
Yeah, that's right.
So if you fall down from the bottom of Eagle's Tower, and you're supposed to fall into that little pit, which takes you all the way down to the very bottom of the mountain, next to where Anglerfish Tunnel is. But if you just hold the right way, you kind of just fall onto land.
Yeah, if you just fall off from either the left or right side of the ledge, then you won't, and just hold down, then you won't fall down at all. Otherwise, if you just go straight down to if you just fall straight to the middle of the ledge, then you will fall down. Okay, so these rocks are RNG. Okay, we're getting some pretty bad RNG. Oh, okay. Alright. So we got hit once. You can get hit like multiple times. It's a lot worse in this version. They actually look like boulders in this game. In LADX, it's like they're like cabbages or whatever. Cauliflowers, as some people call it, I guess. Okay, so this is not flame skip because we're using the mirror shield, and you do need the mirror shield in order to get past that. So that's how you're supposed to get past those flames.
This is Flame skip skip.
Yes. Okay, so because bomb triggering doesn't work, we have to revive this turtle rock right here. And this time we actually have to fight it. So this fight is actually pretty difficult this time. Come on, Bruce is in the way of my strat. Oh my god. Okay, there we go. It takes 3 bombs to break the first phase, and now we're up to the second phase, which is just hitting him at his weak spot with his face. This guy hurts if you get hit by him. Oh my gosh. Okay, there we go. So in the original version, you can just like stand in a specific spot and just mash a sword, but they got smart with this version. Okay, so now we are in Turtle Rock. This is the 8th dungeon, not to be confused with Turtle Rock and Link to the Past.
However, you can confuse it for the one that's in the Link between Worlds.
Yeah. Okay, so hitting that switch is very important. And you'll see why when we get deeper into the dungeon. So the Roomba room. There's a few Roomba rooms that we're gonna go through this time. And you cannot move while you... This time you cannot move while you control a Roomba, like you can in LADX. I gotta wait. Actually, never mind. I thought I messed up. I like did the wrong thing, but then I realized I was doing the wrong thing, and then everything's good. All right. So it is faster to either auto load or use Mumbo's warp to get back to the beginning of the dungeon. However, by doing, well, you can use Mumbo's warp, but if you auto load, which is faster than going back manually like I did there, actually resets that switch that I hit earlier. So it is. I learned that the hard way when I was doing my first run of this game. I watched through the run, followed through, and was wondering, why don't they just auto load? Isn't that faster? But I learned that the hard way when I realized it. Oh gosh. Now that we got our 2 keys that we need, we're gonna go ahead and head to the underground. Oh, okay, that was a dropped input there. Okay, there we go. No! Okay. This is not good. Okay, there we go. Had to take it slow. Alright, so this is Blano. So they made Blano pretty hard in this version this time. Okay, there we go. So that charge punch that he was doing, it can either stun you or send you back to, I think it's the beginning of the room this time. It used to be that in LADX and LA, where if he hits you with that attack, then he just sends you back to the beginning of the dungeon. But I think they actually changed it so that you just get sent back to the room before Blano. So that's a pretty nice quality of life change that they added. Okay, so powder's busted, so we use that to defeat that Vi right there. And also our award is the Magic Rod. But they nerfed the Magic Rod so hard in this version. So it doesn't really do as much damage as in LADX. Otherwise, if we could use the Magic Rod to destroy that Hinox that I just defeated. So grab this key right here, and then we're going to go back to the beginning of the dungeon. Okay, so this is what I thought I was doing right here. I had to use the Roomba over that leads to these stairs right here. And old routes of this dungeon, there's something called Burless, and we got Burless, even though it's free in this version, because all you have to do is interact with the ice, and then it'll give you that text. Oh, okay. So, oh, I've never seen him do that before. Okay, there we go. So unfortunately, I wasted a couple arrows on this fight, but it wouldn't be that big of a deal. I think I'm still fine on arrows. If I don't have enough arrows, then there is a kind of slow backup strat. I don't know how much slower it is, but it's not a big deal if I run out of arrows from this point on. But I would still like to have some arrows. Okay, so now we're gonna get the Nightmare Key, and then now it's time to the boss. Oops. I'd like to also, like, there's one flaw with going too fast with loading your auto load file. So shoutouts to Adamo for like on really good PB pace run that he was on. He accidentally loaded a new file while he was trying to load his autoload file in that particular spot right there of the dungeon. And so, you know, being very far into the run on PB pace and then having to load an actual file to start the whole run all over again, it's quite a depressing time loss. But that is one flaw that you can make if you're going too fast.
Oh, Mchan, how do you
okay,
feel
so of all the bosses that they could make worse, they made this boss even worse. So this time his health is pretty consistent, but the Magic Rod is so nerfed in this version that it's just so much harder to hit him. You can also hit him with your sword while he's like moving all over the place. So that's one change that they made.
You know what the biggest change they made is? This boss is actually loads easier because he doesn't do 4 hearts of health whenever he hits you.
Oh yeah, that's right. Still a terrible boss though. But with that, that is Turtle Rock completed. What'd you think of that, Matt?
Yeah, it's looking good. There's lots of banging.
Alright. Okay, so that warp that I activated on the way to Eagle Tower, we're now going to use that.
Oh, so I love the name for the drum in this. It's the Octopus Drum.
I like it. so we gotta go through this again. Not a big deal. Again, even with doing this backtracking, it still saves time than having to watch that cutscene where Marin is kidnapped on the bridge. And unlike in LADX, there isn't a way to actually skip it. So we have to do Eagle Tower in 2 visits for this reason. The gap to hookshot across that bridge is larger, so doing a dash jump does not work. Okay, so we're gonna use arrows here. I'm gonna use a few arrows. I try not to use too many arrows. It is faster to use some arrows here, but because I'm low, I'm trying to be a little bit conservative. Alright, so Eagle. It is much harder in this version than... well, it's not harder, it just takes longer, and there's some RNG involved in this fight. So, you can't actually see it, but, I'm actually, like, I'm holding my controller in a claw grip, because I need to be able to hold the B button while at the same time access my Y button on my GameCube controller. Yeah, for that instance right there. Oh, okay. If you fall down, it's only a time loss in this in this version, whereas in LADX, oh my gosh. Okay, whereas in LADX, he regains all of his health.
Mchan.
That was a little bit unlucky, but it could have been a lot worse.
Man, that ladder though.
Not much you could do. Okay, so now we get the Organ of Evening Calm. And so that is 7 out of 8 instruments.
That's not the Organ of Evening Calm, it's a Poseidon organ.
I'm sorry for not knowing German before this run.
I don't know German, I'm still giving it my damn best effort. Only German I know is food.
Now we're actually gonna fall down here. And this is how you would normally get this heart piece. That's right there in that cave. You can actually see that heart piece, so it's more obvious in this version than in LA and LADX. I should also point out that in this version, another quality of life that they added is that there's a total of 20 heart containers throughout the game, and then there's also 50 seashells. There's a lot more things that you have to do if you're planning on 100% in this game. It's pretty fun. Okay, so, I haven't, like, memorized what the, exact pattern puzzle is, and what the exact pattern is, so I actually, like, sometime in the beginning of the run, I actually had to pull up, some notes in order to know what the, what the puzzle is and what the pattern is. Because, like, I normally have, like, some kind of sticky note next to me. Or if I'm streaming attempts, then I have, like, a text box on my stream layout that tells me what the puzzles are. But because I don't have any of those, I had to resort in kind of off-screen looking up things in the middle of the run. Oh my god. So they got smart with this particular jump in this version, to where you can't just jump across the pit like you can in the original. They actually put pots there to actually block you from doing that. So they tried to be smart, but you just use a bomb arrow to break all those pots, and then you can just do a simple dash jump. You can also do a skew whip shot across, but that is harder. So
We fight
the anglerfish. The anglerfish. It's or prawn killer. In this instance, it's there's actual strategy to this fight. You just hit him a bunch of times, and then you win. So there we go. And now we're about to get our final heart container.
It is also worth noting, I don't
Thank
think we
you
can
for
use any
following.
items.
You are now officially
No.
Which makes
Whoa!
not use any items.
Indeed, my son, with the art.
And even without the sword in the
Motherfucker.
original version, you can actually just stand at or even without using any items. In the original version, you can actually just like go at a specific spot and just mash a sword all the time, and then you win. But obviously you can't do that, because there's actual strategy to this fight. Okay, so looking at my timer, I think we can get some kind of 151, which is pretty good.
Just don't walk down.
Yeah, if you go to a lower part of the map, now that I completed Dungeon 4, that is not the right place. Thank you. Because I now completed Dungeon 4, the ghost can spawn. As long as I hit the bottom half of the map. Because we're warping over here, this is not the bottom half of the map, so the ghost will not spawn. Okay, so I guess we can be quiet for this. That is mandatory. Okay, now we're heading inside. I really like the high quality egg in that is the remake of this game. All right, so this puzzle, you're gonna think, well, hold on a moment. You don't have the magnifying lens. You haven't read the book at all. How are you gonna go through this? How do you know what puzzle you got? Well, thanks to RNG manipulation, I know what path to take here. And no, this is not a glitch. Some people kind of debate that this is some people like debate that they don't like this because it's a major sequence break that we just know the puzzle right away. But it's nowhere near a glitch. Okay, so this is the nightmare fight. And unfortunately, there is no manipulation. We kind of have to suffer through the first two fights of the first two phases of this fight. We have to use powder 3 times, just like that. And then now, Aghanim. Normal in the original, it takes 4 energy shots to beat him. Now it takes 5 hits to beat him. First hit's always an energy shot, and then now everything else is 50-50.
Yes.
Okay, that's a blue ball. I'm standing far away, so I can react to when he shoots a blue ball. Okay, there we go. So we got 1 blue ball, or 2 blue balls, which is not bad. Okay, this is Moldorm. Uh-oh. This hitbox is pretty funky this time, but there we go. And now we have Ganon. This one's pretty hard this time. Okay, there we go. Took a lot more damage than I'd like to, but that's okay. We're still alive, and we still have a lot more. We still have a lot of hearts, so dying should not be a concern. And I say that I'm gonna die to Deathel.
And that would be a fun curse, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Okay, so this time. So in LADX, obviously I didn't show this off because we had the boomerang at the time. But it takes 16. It would normally take 16 arrows. This time it takes 10, I think.
It is 10.
And you can only shoot 2 arrows per cycle, whereas in LADX you can shoot like 3 or 4. You can actually shoot a 3rd arrow if you're really good, but that's really hard to do.
Similar to how in Link's Awakening DX, I believe somebody got 5 at one point.
Yeah, you can get a 5th arrow in. That's really hard. Also, they changed it so that arrows is not the only thing that could damage Deathel. Also, time. Okay. Deathel's not, the arrow's not the only thing that can damage Deathel. Boomerang unfortunately does not one-hit Deathel anymore. And also, you can use the Magic Rod in order to damage Deathel. So that would be a last resort if I had ran out of arrows somewhere during the run. I don't know if it does the same amount of damage or less. I assume less, because not very many people do use the Fire Rod against Deathel.
Did you just say Fire Rod?
Did I? Okay.
Alright. You're obviously tired. But hey, good job.
Yeah, so the time that I got was 152.35, which, you know, despite some of the problems I had during the run, it was not bad. Didn't make too many major mistakes. So I like how the run went. I apologize earlier in the beginning while I was setting up for RNG manipulation about all those problems I had. I'm not sure what happened, where my monitor gave me problems, but I'm glad that I didn't waste too much time on the schedule.
We gave us the opportunity for some good damage between the matches. Speaking of which, I'd like to say thank you, Ron, for what you were able to give us today. Unfortunately, his internet gave out, so he wasn't able to do commentary for the entire thing. Same as myself, I unfortunately wasn't able to do commentary for the whole run because, surprise, I had surprise roof work getting done. I did not know about this until the Link's Awakening DX run started, when I heard plywood being dropped on my roof. Thank you,
Okay.
Mchan, for doing these amazing runs back to back. If you guys want to learn how to run any of these games, you can go to speedrun.com/LA/LADX/LAS, and the Discord server is the same for all 3.
Yeah, and we have a very friendly community of runners. You don't have to be shy about asking any questions, because all of us are always really happy to help out and answer any questions you may have. And we're also a very supportive community. As you might see, like if you're streaming like first attempts or like a learning stream, then you might have like a runner or two like come into your stream and like kind of wish you good luck or give you tips while you're streaming. It's a really awesome community. It's one of my favorite communities to be part in. So, really happy that I got to showcase these 2 runs. I don't think there's anything much else to say.
That's all we got. Thanks to Rolling for allowing Mchan to do this, for bringing me Master along with him. And,
also, this ending cutscene looks so amazing in this version.
Have a nice night, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the marathon.
Yeah. So, thanks for watching and rolling out.